What if Romeo and Juliet's love story turns out differently? Welcome to Dahlia Academy Boarding School, where students are divided into two clans, the White Cats and Black Dogs. The White Cats are led by Juliet Persia, while the Black Dogs are led by Romio Inuzuka. Rivalries are deep, and violent clashes between clans are common. Inuzuka and Persia have been rivals since childhood, but Inuzuka secretly fell in love with Persia and has been secretly protecting her throughout their battles. However, Persia is frustrated by Inuzuka's reluctance to fight her seriously. One day, Inuzuka witnesses some older white cats dragging younger black dogs to Persia, accusing them of damaging the white cat's house door. The younger boy confesses that he only wanted to prove that the black dogs aren't weak, angering the white cats. Persia steps in, encouraging the boy to return home and grow stronger for the next time they meet. This moment inspires Inuzuka to confess his love to her immediately. However, when the white cats notice him and demand to know why he's in their territory, Inuzuka panics and runs away, leaving Persia furious. Later, as Persia walks back to her dormitory, she's suddenly ambushed by two black dogs, but manages to defeat them. Believing she is safe, she lets her guard down, only to be sprayed with pepper spray, leaving her vulnerable. Just as the attackers are about to assault her, Inuzuka arrives at the last moment to save her. However, the attackers assume he's there to steal the glory. After successfully saving Persia, she distances herself from Inuzuka, suspecting him of being behind the attack. Persia runs away, leaving him speechless. When Inuzuka returns to the dorm, the three black dogs try to take revenge against him for stealing Persia from them, but he easily defeated them. Suddenly, an arrow strikes one of the black dogs, delivering a message from Persia, asking Inuzuka to meet her alone at the plaza. Later that night, Persia awaits him and expresses her desire to clear up the confusion. She demands an explanation for his actions, insisting that if he did save her, he must explain why he would protect an enemy. If not, she challenges him to a fight, frustrated that he always holds back against her. Realizing that he can't confess his feelings, Inuzuka listens as Persia expresses her belief that his actions meant he saw her as weak and incapable, revealing her desire to be strong enough to change the world. Hearing this, Inuzuka realizes that he has always tried to protect her without considering her feelings. Inuzuka accepts her challenge to duel without holding back. As they begin their battle, their swords clashing with powerful blow, Inuzuka finally confesses his feelings for Persia. She attacks him furiously, while he explains why he has always held back and saved her. Inuzuka promises that if she stands by his side, he'll help her change the world. Moved by his word, Persia quickly pushes him into a fountain. As she approaches him, she calls him an idiot, yet she is touched by his words. In the end, she accepts his confession, agreeing to stand by his side as long as he helps her change the world and keeps their relationship a secret. And so begins the love story between Romio Inuzuka and Juliet Persia. The next day, as the two clans clash again, Inuzuka's childhood friend, Hasuki Komai, notices his strange behavior and scolds him for making a llama face. As the battle begins, Persia tries to attack Inuzuka, but he surprisingly manages to defend against her. While the clans are busy fighting, Inuzuka tries to sneak Persia away, hoping for some alone time. However, Persia stops him, questioning why they're leaving the battle. Inuzuka explains that he wants to know more about her, but Persia dismisses it as pointless and returns to the battlefield. Inuzuka then reflects on how their love story differs from the classic tale of Romeo and Juliet. Just as he tries to hold her hand, Hasuki interrupts, forcing Inuzuka and Persia to pretend they're fighting. Feeling hurt by his grip, Persia delivers a powerful heaven kick of pain to him, leaving Inuzuka defeated. Later, as Persia prepares to change into her school uniform, she suddenly hears Inuzuka calling out her name, which she's shocked to see him hanging from the window. She then scolds him for being a pervert, but he explains that he wants to give her a rosary as a symbol of their love. Before he gets the chance to, Persia's right-hand man, Scott Fold, spots him and tries to catch him, but they end up falling from the building. Persia tries to save him, but it's too late. When Inuzuka regains consciousness, Hasuki informs him that the black dogs are seeking revenge on Persia for him. Inuzuka tries to stop them, but Hasuki insists on nursing him, only to realize he's already gone. When Inuzuka finally finds Persia, she's both happy and shocked to see him, but she quickly runs away. As he chases after her, Inuzuka realizes the black dogs are following him, and soon, Scott and the other white cats join the fight. With both sides ready for battle, the groups begin to attack each other. Suddenly, Inuzuka is attacked by Scott and the other white cats, which makes him want to fight back. However, he accidentally breaks the rosary, leaving him shocked. Feeling desperate, Inuzuka grabs a giant statue and uses it to fend off both the cats and the dogs. As punishment for his actions, Inuzuka is assigned to weed around the school's lake. Frustrated by his broken rosary, he considers throwing it away, but Persia suddenly appears and stops him, suggesting that they row a boat instead. While on the boat, Persia accepts his broken rosary and asks him to close his eyes. When he accidentally peeks, she gives him a rosary, causing him to blush. Inuzuka is shocked to see that his rosary appears fixed, but Persia explains that it's actually her own rosary, a gift from her mother that she uses for daily prayer, and she wants him to have it as a symbol of her love. Knowing how much the rosary means to her, Inuzuka tries to give it back, which upsets Persia and makes her want to leave. As he tries to explain, he accidentally falls into the lake. Inuzuka calls for help, but she ignores him and rows the boat away, leaving him behind. The next day, during a school day off, Hasuki invites Inuzuka to hit the town with her, but he declines, explaining that he already has plans with someone else. When she asks who he is going with, a mysterious black dog suddenly appears. Hasuki is surprised and begins to suspect that Inuzuka might have an interest in boys. However, the black dog turns out to be Persia in disguise. Thinking that his plan is success, Inuzuka is caught off guard when the other black dogs suddenly appear, eager to befriend his cousin Julio. Inuzuka asks the black dogs to stay away, but they insist on joining. The situation becomes even more frustrating when a mysterious white cat books the entire cafe and recognizes that Julio is actually Persia in disguise. Forced to change plans, they go to a local ramen shop, where Persia accidentally spills her food. Inuzuka quickly helps her, earning a playful hit in return. Later, they visit an amusement park, where Inuzuka takes Persia to a haunted house, hoping for some alone time. However, his plan fails as the zombie scares her away. Inuzuka searches for Persia, worried that she might have left the date. Just as he starts to believe the date has failed, Inuzuka is suddenly pushed into the ocean by Chizuru Maru, who seeks revenge for an earlier defeat. Unable to swim, Inuzuka struggles as Maru tries to drown him. Just then, Julio, Persia in disguise, suddenly appears and tries to stop Maru. Despite Maru's attempt to attack, Julio manages to defend herself and smack him down, forcing Maru to admit defeat. Back at school, Inuzuka thanks Persia for saving his life and expresses his worry about her the previous day. She reveals that she had gone to the toilet to remove her itchy wig. Inuzuka then apologizes for the unsuccessful date, but Persia reassures him, saying it was a success because they learned more about each other. She expresses her excitement for their next date, leaving Inuzuka feeling happy. Suddenly, Scott interrupts them, and they resume their fake fighting. In the following weeks, Inuzuka asks Persia to celebrate their first-month anniversary. However, Persia playfully teases him, saying she's busy that day, and walks away. Feeling frustrated, Inuzuka threatens to celebrate alone, but Persia quickly returns and promises to celebrate together. Just as they're about to do something romantic, Hasuki and Scott suddenly appear, forcing them to pretend to fight again. Hasuki and Scott then inform them that the tyrant princess of the West, Princess Char, is returning to school after a year's absence. As everyone celebrates the princess's arrival, the mood suddenly shifts when Char stops and slaps Scott in the face, declaring that his presence is more boring than watching the paint dry. Char then demands that the black dogs give her a proper welcome, but Inuzuka boldly refuses, stating that they aren't her dogs. However, Char declares that she will make him bow to her. Without hesitation, Inuzuka steps forward, ready to hit her, but just before he can strike, Char reveals that she knows about his secret relationship with Persia. She shows him a photo of the two together, forcing Inuzuka to back down. Fearing he will lose Persia, Char makes him an offer: she will keep his secret if he becomes her loyal dog. When she orders him to massage her shoulders, Inuzuka reluctantly agrees, while Persia watches jealously from a distance, until Hasuki slaps him to snap him out of it. Later, Char tells Inuzuka that whenever she blows her whistle, he must come and serve her immediately. Inuzuka bows to her, pleading that this will ruin his reputation as the leader of the Black Dogs, but Char remains indifferent, wanting a loyal dog like him. Later, when Persia meets Inuzuka at the park, she asks if he prefers big melons like Princess Char's, but before he can explain, he hears the whistle blow, forcing Inuzuka to run off to find Char. As the Black Dogs watch, Char commands Inuzuka to carry her on his back. As he starts to slow down, she shows him the photo, motivating him like a marathon runner. The Black Dogs start to think that Inuzuka has betrayed them. When Inuzuka returns to the park, he tries to explain everything to Persia, but the whistle keeps interrupting them. Although Persia doesn't know what's going on, she encourages him to go and reminds him to attend their anniversary no matter what, which he promises. At the White Cat's dorm, Char asks Inuzuka if he's angry at her, and he smiles, saying that her wish is his command, while secretly planning to find her weakness before their anniversary. Returning to his dorm, Inuzuka is shocked to find his belongings thrown outside by the black dogs, who accuse him of being the white cat's servant. The boys tell him to be grateful to Hasuki for convincing them that Inuzuka hasn't betrayed the black dogs, and she asks them to give him a chance to prove his loyalty. With 2 days left until their anniversary, Inuzuka still can't find Char's weakness and continues to obey her every command, even fighting off a group of thugs. Despite his best efforts to remain calm, he can't find any weaknesses in Char, who is excellent in both academics and sports. While carrying her back to the dorm for dinner, Char suddenly orders him to stop when she spots Persia walking with a friend. Inuzuka starts to wonder if Persia might be the key to her weakness. So the next morning, Inuzuka asks Persia about her relationship with Princess Char, and she reveals that they were childhood friends who spent a lot of time together. The whistle suddenly interrupts them, and Inuzuka notices that Char always calls him whenever he's with Persia. Before he rushes off, Persia gently pinches his hand. Seeing her sad expression, Inuzuka promises to resolve everything before their anniversary. On the day of their anniversary, Inuzuka sneaks into Char's room to find something he can use to blackmail her. However, Char arrives earlier than expected, suspecting that her naughty dog has been snooping around. So she searches every corner of the room, but can't find him. That's when she realizes that Inuzuka has discovered her secret, a hidden mirror filled with photos of Persia, and accuses Char of being in love with her. Feeling embarrassed, Char tries to silence Inuzuka, who realizes that she's jealous of his relationship with Persia. Char then pushes him against the wall and admits that Persia is the only person who has ever treated her as a true friend, and she feels distanced from her because of Inuzuka. When Persia knocks on the door, Char worries she'll find out her secret, but Inuzuka asks Char to buy him some time. Char tries to distract Persia at the door so she can't get inside. When she finally enters the room, she is surprised to find that her photos have disappeared. As Persia gets ready for their date, Char hesitantly asks if she will return, and Persia reassures her that she'll always be by her side, making Char relieved. As Persia leaves for her date, Char opens the secret mirror and asks Inuzuka to stop staring at her collection. She then asks why he would help her after everything she's done to him, and Inuzuka explains that he understands what it's like to hide feelings for someone. Char reluctantly lets him go, but warns that she still doesn't approve of his relationship with Persia because it's too dangerous. Later that night, Inuzuka rushes to the date and discovers that Persia has fixed the rosary he gave her, causing him to cry like a baby. As they enjoy their time together, Char secretly spies on them from the bushes. As the midterm exams approach, the black dogs kick off a 72-hour study session. Persia notices the commotion and asks Inuzuka what's going on. He explains that it's a black dog tradition to study non-stop for 3 days before the test, with no one allowed to leave the dorm, and she scolds him for trapping her there. At that moment, Hasuki appears and asks everyone to start their studying session. When Persia questions why Hasuki seems different, she gets her answer when Hasuki throws a book at them for making noise. Persia finds her terrifying, and Inuzuka explains that Hasuki's personality changes when she wears those glasses. When Hasuki gives them a quiz to test their academic skills, Inuzuka tries to impress Persia but quickly falls asleep, causing Hasuki to use her whip to keep him awake. As the group begins to lose focus and draw inappropriate things, Hasuki scolds them for not taking her class seriously. As she resumes her teaching, Persia notices Inuzuka being unusually serious, despite his usual dislike for studying. He admits that he needs to do his best to avoid getting expelled, or he'll be sent back home. After the class, Inuzuka apologizes to Persia for dragging her into his study session, but she reassures him that she'll miss him while he's stuck studying. Suddenly, Hasuki appears and questions Inuzuka about being outside alone, but he quickly changes the subject by complimenting her teaching, which makes her happy. She's relieved that he's not up to anything suspicious with Char, but Inuzuka assures her that there's nothing to worry about. As Hasuki returns to the dorm, Char suddenly attacks Inuzuka from behind, accusing him of sneaking his lover into the black dog dorm and cheating with Hasuki. Inuzuka clarifies that they're just friends, but Char questions why he hides his relationship with Persia if Hasuki is truly his best friend. Unable to answer, Char leaves and heads to the underground tunnel. Later that night, Hasuki is pleased with Inuzuka's compliment when Maru enters her room and asks why she is smiling. Hasuki then tells Maru about how she met Inuzuka in elementary school, when she was a nerd who everyone avoided because of her intelligence. Inuzuka was the first person to approach her and ask for help with his studies. After scoring well for the first time, he complimented her and became her first friend. Maru finds the story a bit creepy, but they don't realize that Inuzuka has overheard everything from outside her room. When Inuzuka enters the room, he tells Hasuki that he overheard everything and asks why she would go so far for him. At that point, Hasuki then confesses her love, but Inuzuka, who's feeling guilty, admits that he's already in a relationship with Persia. Feeling hurt and betrayed, Hasuki tries to expose their secret to the black dogs, but Inuzuka quickly covers her mouth to stop her. She then dresses him in a traditional kimono and orders him to attend a ritual as punishment for breaking their sacred code, explaining that black dogs are not allowed to fall in love with the white cats. When he tries to resist, Hasuki draws her sword and warns him that she won't show mercy, causing Inuzuka to run away. Meanwhile, Persia notices that Inuzuka is being chased to death by Hasuki. As Inuzuka hides by hanging from a tree branch, Persia suddenly appears, and is shocked to know that he foolishly revealed their relationship to Hasuki, but he assures her that he'll clear up the misunderstanding. Just then, Hasuki appears and swings her sword, aiming to strike him, but her attack accidentally places Persia and Inuzuka in a romantic position, which makes her even jealous. Hasuki tries to separate them and aims her sword at Persia, but Char intervenes just in time to stop the attack. Inuzuka manages to stop Hasuki as well, and Char admits that she already knew about their relationship. However, since Inuzuka has endangered Persia, Char declares her own intent to kill him as well. So Inuzuka quickly grabs Persia and runs away from both of them. After they manage to escape, Inuzuka feels worthless for not being honest with his best friend and for putting his lover in danger. Persia asks him to put her down and encourages him to stop running and face the situation together. When Hasuki and Char finally catch up to them, Hasuki asks if he has accepted his fate, to which he responds that he's ready. Just as Hasuki charges at him with her sword, he tells her that he still wants to be her friend. When her sword strikes his head, it turns out to be a replica, leaving only a small cut, and Hasuki angrily yells that she hates him. Suddenly, Persia slips and falls off a cliff, causing Inuzuka to jump after her. He manages to catch her but realizes too late that he can't swim. As he regains consciousness, Hasuki scolds him for jumping into the water recklessly, but Inuzuka insists that he'll do anything for Persia. Realizing that Inuzuka will never love her the way she loves him, Hasuki cries, telling him once again that she hates him. The next day, Inuzuka worries about his relationship with Hasuki, but she suddenly appears and tells him to get ready for their study session. She claims that they are still friends, but warns him that she will behead him if he flirts with Persia in front of her. Inuzuka meets Persia at the warehouse and confesses that he wants something more in their relationship. Feeling awkward, Persia quickly says that she isn't ready, but Inuzuka clarifies that he simply wants a homemade bento. When he asks her what she thought at first, she tells him to shut up or she'll rip his mouth out. Later, back in her dorm, Persia tries to make a homemade bento, but struggles with her cooking skills, burning the cookies to a crisp. Still determined to impress him, she comes up with a quick solution. The next morning, Persia presents her homemade bento, which impresses Inuzuka. She then asks him to open his mouth so she can feed him, but their moment is interrupted by Char, who puts her foot into his mouth instead. Claiming she's never tried Persia's cooking, Char quickly snatches the bento from them. However, as she tries to run away, her uniform gets caught on a tree branch, causing her to drop the bento, which lands on Scott's head. Believing the bento was made for him, Scott excitedly asks Persia to eat together. Inuzuka suddenly intervenes, causing Scott to fall and respond by drawing his sword. Inuzuka dodges Scott's attack and counters with a swift kick. As Scott refuses to back down, Inuzuka grabs a tree and swings it at him, causing the bento to fly out of Scott's hands and land in a pigsty, where the pigs devour it. Left defeated, Inuzuka is heartbroken that he won't get to taste his girlfriend's cooking. Feeling guilty, Persia reveals that she didn't make the bento, it was made by her kitchen maid, leading Inuzuka to think they've been fighting over the maid's heart. Feeling bad for what he's been through, Persia offers him her homemade cookies, but warns him that they are burnt. Ignoring the warning, Inuzuka takes a bite and immediately spits it out, leaving Persia embarrassed. Inuzuka then laughs and reassures her that she doesn't have to be perfect when they're alone, but Persia refuses to give up and promises to make the best bento for him next time. Back on the training field, the black dogs are preparing for the upcoming sports festival. However, Maru tells Inuzuka not to attend the sports festival because they were humiliated by the white cats at a previous event, which leads to a fight. Meanwhile, Hasuki's friends notice that she has feelings for Inuzuka and tease her about the rumor that whoever wins the sports festival will become the MVP and get to dance with their chosen partner. The girls then call out to Inuzuka, suggesting that if they win, he dances with Hasuki, and she is surprised that he immediately agrees, believing it to be a simple dance. While he's alone, Inuzuka overhears Scott and the white cats insulting the black dogs. Scott brags about his goal of becoming MVP so he can dance with Persia, but Inuzuka interrupts his fantasies, scolding him for disrespecting the black dogs with their offensive song. Just as Inuzuka is about to confront Scott, a first-year girl named Somali Longhaired effortlessly stops him with a single hand. Then, her friend and crush, Abby, appears and asks Persia to become his girlfriend if he wins the MVP, but Persia rejects him right away. Both Inuzuka and Scott become furious, and as Somali gets ready to attack Inuzuka, Persia steps in, suggesting that they settle everything at the sports festival. However, Inuzuka dismisses the suggestion, claiming that he has no interest in the event and walks away. Later that night, while everyone else is excited about the festival, Inuzuka remains uninterested, until he receives an arrowed note from Persia, asking him to meet her the next morning to help her practice for the three-legged race. His excitement is finally sparked, and he can't stop cheering about it throughout the night. The next morning, Inuzuka meets Persia at the training ground. He compliments her ponytail as she ties their legs together for the three-legged race. Persia then asks him to place his arm around her shoulders, making things a bit awkward. She then suggests he hold her waist instead, which causes a nosebleed. After he wipes away, Inuzuka asks why she's so determined to win, and Persia explains that she wants to increase her popularity and gain her father's attention. Motivated to help, Inuzuka takes their training seriously, and together, they make a great team. After practice, Persia encourages Inuzuka to join the sports festival, telling him to forget his past failures and focus on moving forward. Inuzuka realizes that the entire training session was meant to help him regain his confidence. Persia then adds a fun twist: if either of them wins MVP, the loser has to follow one order from the winner. This challenge ignites Inuzuka's competitive spirit, and he eagerly enters the 100-meter race. As the sports festival finally arrives, the white cats and black dogs prepare themselves for a fierce battle. Inuzuka decides that if he wins the MVP, he'll order Persia to call him by his first name, Romio. The first event is tug of war, and the black dogs take an early lead, but Somali, as the white cat's anchor, pulls back with impressive strength. Just when it seems the white cats might win, Abby's compliment distracts her, and she loses her grip, giving the black dogs the win. The next event is an athletic course, in which Maru takes the lead for the black dogs and places traps along the track. Princess Char, on the other hand, has a clever plan, which she convinces her teammates to carry her through the course. While Maru argues with the referee about her actions, Char crosses the finish line. After several rounds, the first half concludes with an intense tie between the two teams. During the break, Persia and Inuzuka meet at the secret spot, and she tells him that her mother is watching from the audience, which motivates her even more to win the MVP title and earn her father's attention. Meanwhile, Inuzuka is nervous about how he should introduce himself to her mother, but Persia reassures him that he'll get a chance someday. As the second half begins, the event kicks off with a cheerleading competition, followed by the stick-down match, where groups try to knock down their opponent's pole. Meanwhile, Abby instructs Somali to begin their evil plan. As Persia approaches the black dog's pole and attempts to bring it down, Somali appears to help, but Persia quickly realizes Somali is trying to step on her with spiked shoes. Although the white cats win this round, Persia, who is injured, claims that she's fine and moves on to the next event. Next up is the mixed relay, with Hasuki taking the lead and Persia giving it her all to stay ahead. As the race heats up, Persia suddenly drops the baton and collapses, leaving everyone in shock. Inuzuka rushes to help her, but Char stops him, warning that it might end their relationship. Struggling to stand up, Persia faces Abby, who takes the opportunity to mock her as a weak leader. His words start to sway some of the boys, and the crowd begins to criticize her. Inuzuka quickly silences them by slamming his fist against the wall. Char warns Abby that he'll regret his actions, but Abby remains indifferent. Forced to leave for treatment, Persia feels like a failure for not being able to continue. Char explains to Inuzuka that Abby is leading a faction against Persia and that Somali injured her to disqualify her from the games, leaving Inuzuka stunned. Seeing her upset, Inuzuka tells Persia to stop crying and watch the next event, promising he'll take down Abby for her. The final event, a cavalry battle, begins with Inuzuka teaming up with Maru as his horse. Hasuki manages to take down several white cats by grabbing their ribbons. However, Abby pulls another dirty trick to knock out Hasuki's team and steal her ribbon. As the black dogs start losing one by one, Inuzuka realizes that Abby has been secretly putting them to sleep, leaving the black dogs at a disadvantage. Maru hesitates to continue, but when Persia appears disguised as Julio and encourages them, their spirits are lifted. Together, they rally and start eliminating each white cat team. When Inuzuka and Maru confront Abby's team, two of Abby's boys are knocked down by a sneaky move from one of Maru's boys. Abby tries to report this to the referee, but Maru counters by pointing out Abby's own cheating with sleeping pills in the black dog's water. Somali tries to silence Maru, but Inuzuka stops her, revealing the evidence that her spiked shoes injured Persia. Abby delivers his strongest punch, but it doesn't stop Inuzuka, who responds with a powerful blow, sending Abby crashing to the stadium floor. Just as the referee prepares to announce the Black Dog's victory, Inuzuka insists on facing Persia, stating he can't claim true victory until he defeats all the white cats. Excited by the challenge, Persia steps forward to face him and quickly teams up with Char, setting the stage for a final showdown against Inuzuka and Maru. The final battle kicks off with both Inuzuka and Persia giving it their all. Persia even lands a strong headbutt, but just as Inuzuka is about to grab her ribbon, she quickly dodges, causing him to accidentally grab her melon, leaving everyone stunned. Feeling embarrassed, Inuzuka collapses to the ground, which hands the white cats an easy victory. While a blushing Persia celebrates, Inuzuka's teammates mock him, and he's even demoted from his position as Black Dog leader for his melon mishap. At the victory party, Scott searches for Persia to ask her to dance, only to run into Princess Char, who reminds him of his promise to shave if he lost. She hints that she won't shave his head but has something else in mind. Meanwhile, Inuzuka sits alone, feeling humiliated over the incident with Persia. Just then, Persia appears and invites him to dance. He awkwardly claims he doesn't know how to dance in the Western dance, so Inuzuka teaches her in Tuwa style. As they dance, Persia thanks him for helping her win MVP and promises to return the favor. Despite the awkwardness, they find themselves enjoying the moment together. A month later, the student council gathers to address complaints after the sports festival. The Black Dogs accuse Abby of cheating to take down their team, while the White Cats blame Inuzuka for throwing away their victory. The Black Dogs clarify that they are not upset with the outcome, but about the rising faction tensions, to which the White Cats respond that Abby's popularity has dropped and her faction is losing support. They then warn them that if this happens again, they will not remain silent. Meanwhile, the stress of losing his position makes Inuzuka sick, and Hasuki tries to care for him. However, when he mutters Persia's name in his sleep, Hasuki becomes annoyed and splashes water on him. Soon after, she's called away by the Black Dogs, as she is now their new leader, leaving Inuzuka to recover alone. While struggling with his fever, Inuzuka is surprised when Persia unexpectedly arrives in disguise to check on him. Trying to play it cool, he tells her to leave, but she insists on staying to care for him. She notices how messy his room is, and he explains that it's because of the Black Dog's punishment, which makes her feel guilty. As she cleans up, she finds an adult magazine, which Inuzuka claims was a gift from Maru's friend to cheer him up. Persia reassures him that it's natural to be curious, but when he adds that her melons are the only ones he's interested in, she calls him a pervert. On her way to get him some food, Persia bumps into Maru, who instantly recognizes her as Julio. Realizing the food is meant for Inuzuka, he jealously eats it himself, claiming that a traitor like Inuzuka doesn't deserve anything. When Maru asks her what she's doing here, she splashes water on him before running away. Lost in her hurry, she accidentally enters the ladies' bathroom, where she falls into the water, causing the other girls to mistake her for a pervert. She finally makes it back to Inuzuka's room, where she is completely soaked. She asks him to turn around so she can change into his uniform. Inuzuka struggles not to peek, so when he tries to take a look, Persia pokes him in the eyes. Just then, they're interrupted by a knock on the door. It's Maru's friend who wants his magazine back. Persia quickly hides under the sheets, and Maru's friend decides to leave after getting no response. Feeling embarrassed, Persia apologizes for hiding in his bed, worried that it might have worsened his fever. As Inuzuka drifts off to sleep, he wakes up to find Persia singing a gentle lullaby. Relieved that his fever has broken, he thanks her for coming to take care of him. Persia shyly admits that she didn't just come to help but also because she missed him, causing his temperature to spike all over again. Meanwhile, the twin Black Dog sisters, Kochu and Tyria, are tasked with monitoring Inuzuka more closely. With the harvest festival approaching, Kochu and Tyria are assigned to monitor the event. In the meantime, outside the school, Inuzuka invites Persia to the festival, and she agrees but decides not to disguise herself as Julio since Maru is growing suspicious of her identity. Disappointed that they can't enjoy the fireworks together, Persia promises they'll find a way to enjoy them, which makes Inuzuka excited for their date. However, he soon encounters Kochu and Tyria, who mentions they saw him talking to someone under a bench. Thinking fast, Inuzuka claims he was talking to his aunt friends, which makes the twins pity him for being lonely. Returning to his dorm, Inuzuka is surprised to find Kochu and Tyria waiting in his room. When he tries to get them to leave, Kochu reveals that Tyria found a rosary, causing him to panic. As he desperately tries to grab it back, Kochu accuses him of flirting with her sister in bed. Inuzuka then asks if they're really twins, but Kochu only becomes more convinced that the rosary holds some secret. So Inuzuka makes a quick escape, with the twins chase after him, but he eventually manages to slip away. Later at the festival, Persia finds Inuzuka hiding in the bushes, where he explains that he's trying to hide from the prefects. When he accidentally steps a branch, the twins turn around, but all they find are some cows. Despite the close call, Inuzuka and Persia try to enjoy the festival, while remaining out of sight. At one point, they hide together in a small barrel while waiting for the twins to leave. However, the heat inside becomes unbearable, causing Inuzuka to think of a better distraction. Just as the twins are about to give up, they're alerted by a brawl between two rowdy students. The twins order them to stop, but the boys are unwilling to take orders from little girls. In response, the twins dodge their attacks, which Tyria skillfully catches with a net, while Kochu blows her sleeping powder at the other, putting him into a deep sleep. Their teamwork earns a plus from the crowd, but they still seem disappointed. Noticing this, Inuzuka decides to take action, asking Persia to wait. As the twins prepare to leave, a rubber bullet suddenly hits Kochu on the head. Inuzuka reappears and challenges them to a festival game showdown. The twins eagerly accept and dive into the games, defeating him in every round while clearly enjoying themselves. When they ask what to play next, Inuzuka tells them he's finished, leaving them feeling a bit disappointed as they haven't enjoyed themselves this much in a long time. To lift their spirit, he gently pats their heads and praises their hard work, reminding them that they deserve to have fun too. Touched by his kindness, the twins thank him before returning to enjoy the festival. Feeling proud of his plan, Inuzuka suddenly realizes he left Persia in the barrel. Rushing back to her, he realizes the fireworks have already started, and he watches alone without her. When he opens the barrel, she scolds him for making her watch through a tiny hole. Inuzuka quickly apologizes, but Persia reassures him that she is not upset, claiming that seeing his softer side with the twins was worthwhile. To make up for it, they decide to enjoy a smaller firework together. Meanwhile, the twins wonder how much trouble Inuzuka might bring if he ever ran for prefect, and it's revealed that his older brother, Aro Inuzuka, holds a prominent position on the student council. As Persia's birthday approaches, Char excitedly marks her calendar, thrilled to throw a big party. However, when Persia finds out, she requests a simpler favor instead, leaving Char a bit disappointed. The next day, Inuzuka also marks the date, wondering what gift would make Persia happy. Suddenly, Kocha sneaks up on him, curiously asking whose birthday he's preparing for, and before he can answer, he hits her with his marker. When he asks where Tyria is, Kocha reveals that Tyria has been hiding under his bed all night, making Inuzuka to believe she's a stalker. Kocha then reminds Tyria about their planned shopping trip to town, which gives Inuzuka the idea to secretly buy Persia a gift. During his shopping trip, Inuzuka spots a cute kitty doll he wants to give Persia, but Char reaches for it at the same time. Neither willing to let go, they end up ripping the doll apart. As they argue, a police officer approaches and recognizes Char, warning her about radicals from Tuwa nearby and asking that she return to school unless she has a bodyguard. Thinking quickly, Char pulls Inuzuka into a clothing store, where she insists he dress as a white cat to act as her bodyguard. Inuzuka refuses at first, but when Char hints that she knows what Persia really wants for her birthday, he has no other choice but to follow her. Inuzuka reluctantly follows Char as she takes him into a women's underwear store, leaving him completely flustered. They then argue about what Persia would like best, while Persia gets a strange feeling that people are talking about her. After some debate, Char chooses something she thinks perfect, but quickly reminds herself not to get too close to her enemy. As they continue their search for the ideal gift, Inuzuka starts doubting Char's knowledge of Persia's preferences. Char accuses him of being a terrible boyfriend for not knowing Persia's tastes. Suddenly, it begins to rain, and they rush to take cover. Meanwhile, the twins are happy they allowed Inuzuka to go shopping, chatting about his rosary, only to be overheard by Inuzuka's older brother. As Inuzuka and Char wait for the rain to stop, he helps her squeeze out her wet jacket and asks her to put it on, noticing that her uniform is also wet. Sensing his embarrassment, Char teases him, jokingly suggesting he should choose her over Persia. Inuzuka instantly flicks her forehead, telling her to stop making jokes like that, leaving Char momentarily speechless. She then kicks him, declaring his bodyguard duties officially over. On her way back to her dorm, Char reflects on how long it's been since someone scolded her like that. Back then, no one dared to call her out for her selfish behavior, and she eventually earned the nickname Tyrant Princess. It wasn't until she met Persia, who called her out for being rude, that she realized Persia was the only friend who genuinely cared for her. As she walks through an alley, she is ambushed by two Tuwa radicals. Char frees herself by taking one down with a powerful kick. Just then, Inuzuka arrives, and the radical mistakes Inuzuka for an ally, but Inuzuka quickly grabs his head and knocks him against a wall. When Char asks why he helped her, Inuzuka explains he didn't want Persia to be upset if something happened to her, leaving Char surprised. As they walk back together, Char admits she felt jealous of him because Persia's birthday wish was for Char to help her spend the day with Inuzuka. Inuzuka is thrilled, feeling as if his prayers have been answered. Before they part, Char hands him a small gift, claiming it will make Persia happy. However, when he opens it, he's left both stunned and embarrassed by what's inside. As he heads back to his dorm, Inuzuka receives an arrowed message from Persia, inviting him to meet in the library. When he arrives, Persia asks if he wants to celebrate her birthday, and he eagerly promises to make it special. She reminds him not to mess it up like in previous years, recalling how he always crashed her birthday party, which still irritates her. When he asks what she'd like, she requests a pair of accessories, and he happily agrees to get them. Returning to his dorm, Inuzuka is surprised to find Hasuki waiting by his door. Just as he is about to greet her, he's shocked to find his older brother, Ero, standing there as well. Ero walks up to Inuzuka, questioning why there's a rosary in his room. As Inuzuka scrambles for an excuse, Hasuki steps in, claiming it as a gift for her, and Inuzuka silently thanks her. However, when Ero brings up the underwear, an irritated Hasuki refuses to cover for him. Growing even more suspicious, Ero accuses Inuzuka of acting strangely around the white cats and demands to know if he has fallen for a girl from the rival house. He warns that if his suspicions prove true, Inuzuka will not only be expelled from school but also disowned from the family. Despite Inuzuka's request for his brother's trust, Ero refuses to believe him and grabs him, lifting him off the ground. Tyria and Kochu step in, threatening to discipline Ero for harassing Inuzuka. Ero reluctantly releases him, but declares that Inuzuka will be under strict surveillance for a week to prove his honesty. With Persia's birthday approaching, Inuzuka realizes he must find a way to celebrate with her in secret. The next day, after much trial and error, Persia finally bakes the perfect cookies. Eager to share her success, she offers some to Char, who happily approves of their taste. Just then, they spot Inuzuka walking with black dog prefects, and Persia immediately senses something is off about him. Later, Kochu asks Inuzuka about his strained relationship with Ero, and he reveals that his older brother has always been harsh and distant, never showing him any kindness since childhood. Even now, Ero's strict treatment remains unchanged. As Persia's birthday gets closer, Ero keeps a close watch on Inuzuka. During a hard kendo training session, Ero pushes his brother to his limits, as Hasuki observes with growing concern. Afterward, Hasuki helps Inuzuka back to his dorm. She is surprised when he admits that he's been holding back during training, hoping to catch Ero off guard. Even though it's risky, Inuzuka is determined to find a way to see Persia on her birthday. Hasuki warns him about the dangers, but he promises not to get caught. Meanwhile, Persia notices Hasuki seems worried and asks her what's wrong with Inuzuka. Later that night, Inuzuka sneaks out of his dorm, attempting to meet Persia at their secret spot. Just as he's about to leave, he hears someone call his name. It's Ero, waiting for him in front of the gate. Ero orders him to return to his room, but Inuzuka refuses and tries to attack his older brother. Ero effortlessly dodges and counters with a powerful strike that sends Inuzuka crashing to the ground. As punishment, Ero locks him in a storage shed, leaving him there for the night. Once Ero leaves, Kochu and Tyria arrive, deciding to help Inuzuka. Earlier that day, Inuzuka had approached them, knowing he'd likely be caught and unable to stand up to Ero on his own. Though hesitant at first, Kochu and Tyria couldn't ignore their duty as prefects to help a fellow student in need. With their help, Inuzuka is set free from the shed and he rushes off to meet Persia. However, as he almost reaches their meeting spot, his body gives out, and he collapses from exhaustion and pain. Persia arrives just in time and catches him as he falls into her lap. Inuzuka weakly asks why she's here, and she explains that she knows about his brother's suspicions of their relationship. With tears in her eyes, Persia apologizes for the suffering he's endured because of their secret. As Inuzuka tries to comfort her, Persia breaks down, hugging him tightly, and declares that she wants to end their relationship to protect him from Ero and the prefects. As Persia's birthday arrives, Scott and the White Cats are preparing a party after class. But suddenly, Inuzuka shows up, kicking Scott aside. Spotting Persia, he tries to approach her, but she quickly turns to avoid him. Refusing to give up, Inuzuka chases her down and corners her against the wall. Like Spider-Man, Persia warns that Ero will catch them, but Inuzuka reassures her that his brother is in class. Still hesitant, Persia pushes him to the ground, declaring she doesn't want to see him again before running away. Meanwhile, Hasuki and her friend are walking to class when they come across a lifeless Inuzuka in the hallway and take him to the clinic. As he explains what happened, Hasuki scolds him for not listening to her, calling him an idiot. Trying to cheer him up, Hasuki suggests they skip class and have some fun. As their first visit is the gaming room, Hasuki teaches him how to play, but Inuzuka ends up aiming at the wrong ball. They next visit to the farm, where Hasuki shows how to pet the sheep. Hasuki then tries to give them some food, but the male sheep attack her, mistaking her for their food. Finally, they climb the bell tower to enjoy the view, but Hasuki almost falls and Inuzuka catches her just in time. This causes her heart to beat faster, and she starts banging her head against the wall to calm herself. Before they leave, Hasuki asks him to come back again, which reminds him of Persia. Back at the White Cat's dorm, Persia looks at the rosary Inuzuka gave her, and Char tells her to get ready for the birthday party. Char notices the rosary and wonders why she hasn't given the cookies to Inuzuka. Persia quickly takes the cookies and claims they are for her instead, but Char realizes she is hiding something. Persia reveals that she doesn't want to end her relationship, while Char tries to comfort her. After spending the day together, Inuzuka thanks Hasuki for cheering him up. She tells him that he's lying because she can see that he's still upset, which causes Hasuki to cry, believing she's not good enough to help him. Inuzuka quickly punches himself several times to make up for his sins, which makes Hasuki smile. Their laughter is interrupted when Char suddenly jumps down from a tree. She walks up to Hasuki, slaps her chest, and claims that she can win Inuzuka over with those lumps of fat. She hands him a bag of cookies, revealing that Persia made them for him. While tasting the cookies, Inuzuka realizes how much effort Persia put into baking them. So he comes up with a plan and invites Hasuki to crash her birthday party. Meanwhile, Persia is meeting the White Cat prefects, and they inform that Inuzuka and the Black Dogs have invaded the party with pies. Scott and his crew are ready for battle, and chaos erupts as Hasuki and the Black Dogs clash with the White Cats, while Inuzuka uses the distraction to search for Persia. However, he's suddenly ambushed by Somali, and just as he's about to ask about her partner, a homeless man appears and quickly reveals himself to be Abby, explaining that he's been kicked out by the White Cats after his faction was dissolved. Abby now seeks revenge on Inuzuka for ruining his life, but Inuzuka cleverly tricks Somali into thinking Abby is jealous of how close she is to him. Somali falls for it and hugs Abby, promising never to let go. Inuzuka continues to search for Persia, but he is soon cornered by a group of White Cat boys. Just as they all attack at once, Inuzuka suddenly vanishes, realizing he's been saved by Kate Sith, one of the White Cats. Although Kate seems suspicious, Inuzuka decides to run away, but Kate stops him and reveals that Persia is locked in a storeroom on the 4th floor. Before Inuzuka can act, the student council secretary, and Sieber, suddenly arrives, and Inuzuka is shocked to learn that Kate is not just any ordinary student, but a White Cat representative prefect. Despite his dislike for fighting, Kate challenges Inuzuka to a duel. Meanwhile, Persia, who is locked in the storeroom, tries to escape and finds a way out through the window. At that moment, Inuzuka is being beaten up by Kate, and he realizes that Kate's strength as the student representative makes him nearly unbeatable. Thinking fast, Inuzuka charges at Kate, using his jacket as a distraction, and ties his legs together with a belt. Kate is impressed by his strategy, and Inuzuka takes advantage of the opportunity to jump out of the window, leaving everyone stunned. As he escapes, he meets Persia, who tries to catch him and grabs his hand, but by the time Scott notices, Inuzuka is already gone. Back at the Black Dog's dorm, Tyria and Kochu inform Arrow that the Black Dog's crashing Persia's birthday party, leading him to think Inuzuka is involved. Persia explains to Inuzuka that she escaped by climbing out the window and over to the balcony. He tells her that it's dangerous, but she brushes it off, saying she was worried about him. Inuzuka then takes her hands and wishes her a happy birthday. Surprised that he went through so much trouble just to say that, Persia admits that she had been avoiding him, but Inuzuka reassures her that he'll always return no matter how many times it takes. Touched by his words, Persia calls him a fool, while admitting she is just as dumb for loving him, and her confession causes him to cry. Despite the challenges in their relationship, Persia finds strength in his bravery and promises to stand by him forever. Meanwhile, Arrow arrives at the White Cat's dorm and punishes the Black Dogs for their actions. He assigns Sasuke to keep an eye on everyone while he searches for Inuzuka. To keep their relationship hidden, Inuzuka and Persia playfully toss pies at each other while pretending to be rivals. Inuzuka calls it a draw and orders his team to retreat, promising to bring more chaos next year. Just as they think the plan worked, Arrow suddenly appears, which he's unconvinced by their act. Arrow publicly accuses Inuzuka and Persia of being secret lovers. Although Persia denies it, Arrow reveals that he found a rosary in Inuzuka's room and a date on his calendar for her birthday. Arrow's final piece of proof is a bra that Char secretly gave Inuzuka, and he orders Kochu to confirm her size. Before things get out of control, Kate steps in to stop the madness. So Arrow and Kate take Inuzuka and Persia away for interrogation. Fearing their relationship might end, Inuzuka is shocked when Persia suddenly throws a sword at him. Unable to take the humiliation, she challenges him to a duel. Although he is hesitant to use a real blade, Persia insists that her pride is more important than her life. Their duel fight begins, with Persia unleashing multiple attacks to convince everyone that they are true enemies. However, Ero isn't fooled because he notices that Inuzuka is holding back. Persia insists that he stop taking her lightly and fight with all of his strength. This reminds Inuzuka of her wish to be treated equally, which motivates him to take the battle seriously. So the two of them charge at each other with all their strength, delivering their final blows before collapsing in defeat. Later that night, the black dogs and white cats feel guilty for doubting their rivalry. Luckily, the representatives arrive just in time to save them. When Inuzuka and Persia wake up, they're relieved that the plan worked, even though their rosaries are broken. Inuzuka then takes out a pair of matching rings to celebrate her birthday. Kneeling down, he places the ring on her finger and promises to join the prefects to change the school rules so they can be together openly. Persia hugs him tightly, promising to wait as long as it takes, and declares him her boyfriend, which makes him feel as if his soul has left the world. A few weeks later, Inuzuka approaches Ero and asks for his permission to join the prefects. Although he's still suspicious of his relationship with Persia, Ero allows him to join. Later, Inuzuka and Persia meet on a boat, and he tells her that he is now a prefect, and she wishes him good luck. Feeling motivated, he loses his balance and falls into the water. Persia quickly saves him, and as they're holding hands, they promise to love each other forever, just like Romeo and Juliet. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching.